Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show that, well, takes a whole heap of information and boils it down for you. We gave you that shortcut to being really clued in. We're all living in this world where new tech just seems to appear constantly, doesn't it? And trying to keep up, it can feel like you're just running on a financial treadmill. But it's not just about our bank balances. There's this huge growing worry about the planet too, just the sheer amount of electronic waste, e-waste that all this upgrading creates. So today we're kind of tackling both things. We're diving deep into a really interesting company called Ressett. They're a big name, it turns out, in the world of refurbished PCs and electronics. And their whole approach, well, offers a pretty compelling way to think about how we buy and use tech. We've really gone through the works here, detailed company reports, financial statements, news articles on e-waste, even their own customer FAQs. Lots to chew on, Kyle. Let's unpack this. Let's really get under the hood of Ressett, understand how they work, where they fit, and what it all means.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is it's not just about one company's success story, is it? It's about how a business like Ressett finds this really significant spot in the whole tech ecosystem. So our mission today really is to get a solid grasp of their business model, where they sit strategically in the market, and crucially, what it all means for you. You know, whether you're maybe thinking about your next PC, or you're just curious about making tech more sustainable, or maybe you just want to understand this thriving little niche market. We're going to try and connect the dots, between making tech, buying tech, using tech, and yeah, getting rid of it. Hopefully hitting some of those aha moments, showing how linked up it all really is in our digital lives.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. Set the scene for where Ressett operates. When we say personal computers, PCs, what are we actually talking about? I mean, it's a pretty broad term, right? Machines designed for like one person to use.
Exactly. Designed for an individual end user. Minimal training needed, generally. And they're super versatile. You see them everywhere. Offices, doing word processing, presentations, video calls, but also at home, playing games, emails, all that stuff.
Right. But it's not just one type of machine. There are different flavors of PC.
Yeah.
And that seems important for how Ressett gets its stock.
Absolutely. Understanding these differences is key. So in the retail market, you've got a few main categories. First up, the classic desktop computers. You know, the one separate box, the system unit, monitor, keyboard, mouse. They're big, need plugging into the wall, and really built for sitting down and using for a while.
Yeah, the workhorse.
Definitely. Think offices or maybe graphic designers needing those big screens, or serious home gamers who want maximum power and, frankly, comfort for long sessions. For Ressett, desktops are a good source. They're sturdy, often upgradable, and even older ones can still pack a punch.
Okay, desktops are the anchor. But then things got portable with laptops.
Right. Laptops basically squish all that desktop stuff into a portable package, run on batteries or plugged in. They come in all sorts of sizes, too. You've got tiny, lightweight ones for traveling, commuting, and then bigger ones that are almost like desktop replacements, bigger screens, better keyboards, less clutter than a full desktop setup.
And they can do most of the same things.
Yeah, most desktop tasks. Word processing, browsing, streaming video, all that. Maybe less powerful for really high-end gaming, typically, because everything's packed in so tight. Ressett loves laptops, you can imagine. High demand, especially from businesses getting rid of older models. They often get big batches from companies refreshing their equipment.
And even smaller, even more portable tablets. They've sort of found their own space, haven't they?
They really have. Tablets push that portability idea right to the limit. Smaller, lighter than laptops, battery-powered. They're great for things like reading documents, getting online, watching movies. Again, usually less raw power, so not ideal for heavy-duty tasks or complex games. Input's mostly touchscreen, though you can add keyboards. You see them used in specific ways, too, like shop assistants checking stock wirelessly, that kind of thing.
So for Ressett, tablets are another stream, maybe more niche.
Yeah, a segment focused on convenience-specific tasks. They might get them from retail returns or maybe corporate settings where they were used for, particular jobs.
Okay, so that covers the main machines.
Yeah.
But the PC world isn't just the computer itself, is it? There's all the extra stuff, peripherals and consumables. These feel important too.
Oh, hugely important. Peripherals are anything you connect to enhance the PC. Monitors, obviously. Mice, keyboards, printers, scanners. External hard drives for extra storage. Connectivity's a thing, too. Desktops tend to have loads of sockets, laptops fewer, tablets maybe just one multi-purpose port. but wireless Wi-Fi, Bluetooth that's making connections easier all the time.
And consumables, what falls under that?
Consumables are the things you use up during operation. So for printing, you need paper, ink cartridges, or toner. For backing up data or transferring files, maybe blank CDs or DVDs, though USB sticks are more common now. For Ressett, this stuff isn't just an afterthought. If they can source peripherals and consumables in bulk, it means they can offer customers a more complete package. And things like printer ink create repeat business. It's smart, adds value beyond just selling the PC itself.
Okay, let's dig a bit deeper into the actual machines. When we talk about how powerful a PC is, it can get a bit technical. But here's where it gets really interesting. Understanding the guts of the machine isn't just for nerds, right? For a company like Ressett, knowing what's inside must be critical for figuring out what a used machine is actually worth.
Absolutely crucial. It's not just the box. Inside, you've got several key bits that determine what it can do. And Ressett's buyers, they need to be experts at judging these. First, the processor, the CPU, the brain, basically, it does the calculations, runs the software. Faster processor generally means faster applications.
But not everyone needs the fastest chip, presumably.
Exactly. If you're just doing word processing or browsing the web, you don't need a supercomputer. But if you want to play demanding games or do things like computer-aided design, CAD, then you need a lot more processing grunt. Ressett's buyers are looking for that sweet spot, powerful enough for current software, probably okay for the next few years, but not so cutting edge it breaks the bank. Balancing cost and future usefulness.
And then the visuals, graphics, videos, games, that's the job of the graphics processor.
Precisely. The graphics processor, or GPU, creates everything you see on screen. In laptops and tablets, it's often soldered onto the main board, so you can't easily upgrade it. But in lots of desktops, it's a separate card you can actually swap out. So Ressett needs to know what graphics capability a machine has. A basic office desktop. Integrated graphics are fine, but a refurbished gaming PC needs a powerful, dedicated graphics card that massively affects who they can sell it to and for how much.
Okay. And we've all been there. Too many browser tabs open, computer slows right down. That's about memory, RAM, isn't it?
That's the classic sign. Yeah, RAM is temporary storage for software and data that's actively being used. Speed and amount both matter. More RAM means faster operations, smoother multitasking. Ressett knows that plenty of RAM makes a huge difference to how a computer feels to use, especially as software gets hungrier. And the good thing is RAM is often upgradable in desktops and quite a few laptops.
So Ressett could buy a machine with okay RAM and then boost it themselves.
Exactly. They might get a machine cheaply because it's low on RAM, spend a little putting more in, and suddenly it feels much quicker, much more valuable to the customer. It's a key way to make an older machine feel fresh.
Right. So RAM's temporary. What about where everything lives permanently? The operating system, your files, photos, that's permanent storage. And that tech has changed a lot too.
Oh, massively. Permanent storage holds everything when the power's off. Traditionally, you had hard disk drives, HDDs, mechanical things, spinning platters. They hold loads of data relatively cheaply, but they're slower because parts have to physically move. Now, increasingly, you see solid-state drives, SSDs. These are all electronic, no moving parts. Way, way faster.
And that makes a big difference.
Huge difference. Booting up the computer takes seconds instead of minutes. Programs load almost instantly. For Ressett, selling a refurbished machine with an SSD or even upgrading an older machine to an SSD is a massive selling point. It just makes the whole experience feel so much snappier, more modern.
Okay, got it. And finally, pretty essential these days, an internet connection.
Absolutely essential. Most PCs have Wi-Fi cards built in, wireless network cards. Many also have Ethernet ports for wired connection, which is usually faster and more reliable. While the internet speed doesn't make the PC itself more powerful, it massively affects how you use it. Ressett makes sure all their machines have good connectivity options because, well, what's a PC without the internet today?
So we have these devices that are actually pretty robust, last quite a while.
Yeah.
Yet the manufacturers just keep churning out new models constantly. You mentioned PC sales are fairly static. Most people who want one probably have one. So why the endless cycle of new hardware?
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, isn't it? It's largely driven by software, believe it or not. Manufacturers need to keep selling stuff, so they launch new models regularly. Often, the improvements are incremental, not massive leaps, but they're designed to keep pace with the latest software. As operating systems, applications, games get more complex, they demand more resources, more processing power, more RAM, better graphics. So people often upgrade not because their old PC is broken, but because it starts to feel sluggish running the newest software. Software evolution really pushes hardware sales, and that, in turn, creates a supply for the refurbished market like Ressett's. Hashtag 1.3, the software driving the hardware. Which leads us neatly into software's critical role. It's what actually makes the hardware useful. And the absolute foundation is the operating system, the OS Windows, Mac OS, Linux. It manages all the hardware bits and creates the environment for everything else to run. Every single PC needs one. And a big reason for PC upgrades is the OS update cycle. Companies like Microsoft and Apple release new versions or major updates regularly. A key reason is security patching holes against viruses, hackers, all that nasty stuff.
Right, you constantly get those update notifications.
Exactly. And each new version tends to get a bit more complex, maybe adds new features, which often means it needs better hardware to run smoothly. Minimum specs go up. So eventually, your older PC might not be able to run the latest, most secure OS version effectively, or at all. And sticking with an old, unsupported OS is risky. You become vulnerable. Developers stop releasing security patches. It's really not a good idea.
How do people get the OS? Is it separate?
Usually it comes bundled with a new PC. The cost is kind of baked into the price. You can buy it separately, but most people don't. And most OSs are proprietary. You're essentially buying a license to use it. Think of the OS like the conductor of an orchestra, making sure all the different hardware instruments play together properly.
That's a great way to put it. So the OS is the conductor. Then you need the musicians, the actual software packages, the applications that let us do stuff.
Precisely. Word processors, spreadsheets, presentation software, the typical office stuff. Then you've got specialized things like CAD software for architects and engineers, video editing suites, photo editing tools, and of course games. And their demands vary hugely. Basic office software, usually not very demanding, it'll run fine on most machines. But that specialized software, CAD or video editing, needs serious processing power, loads of RAM, often a powerful graphics card too.
And games, I guess, are often at the very top end.
Oh yeah. Modern games push hardware to its limits. Complex graphics, fast action, sophisticated AI. They need fast processors, lots of memory, and especially high-end graphics cards to look good and run smoothly. That's why a dedicated gaming PC costs so much more than a standard office machine. It's packed with high-performance components. And while those big-name software packages can be expensive, people often buy them for compatibility, making sure files work properly when shared. Cheaper alternatives do exist, though. And here's where Ressett's model helps. If you save money buying a refurbished PC, you might have more budget left over to buy the specific software you actually need, legally licensed.
Okay, so it's this complex dance between ever-evolving hardware and software, performance, compatibility, security. It all plays a part. So with all that complexity, where do people actually get these machines, especially if they're looking for value, maybe something more sustainable?
That's the perfect question, because if you're shopping for a PC, you've got choices. Our sources lay out a few different paths. You can buy directly from the PC manufacturers, or go to retailers, their online marketplaces, and then there's this really important category, resellers, which is exactly where Ressett operates.
Yeah, it's good to understand the differences. Manufacturers, they often sell direct, maybe online. You can sometimes customize your order. They make stuff in huge batches to keep costs down. They offer support, but they usually don't discount too heavily because they don't want to annoy their retail partners. And they only sell new stuff, obviously.
Right, and retailers.
Your classic electronics stores, department stores, physical shops are good for seeing things, touching them, maybe getting advice from a salesperson. Online retailers offer convenience, again, mostly selling brand new PCs. Then the online marketplaces, eBay, Facebook Marketplace, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Places where individuals buy and sell mostly used goods. Sellers put up photos, descriptions, you might get a fixed price or bid in an auction. It's easy for sellers to list things. But as a buyer, there are risks. You're trusting a stranger to describe it accurately, pack it well, ship it safely, and, crucially, you have no idea if they've properly wiped their personal data off the machine. Big security risk there.
Okay. Which brings us to the resellers, like Ressett. They seem to sit somewhere in the middle, offering something different.
They really do. It's a very strategic position. Resellers like Ressett buy equipment PCs, peripherals from other businesses, manufacturers, retailers. Then they check it, maybe refurbish it, and sell it on. They sell to individuals, but also to companies, schools, government agencies. And the key thing, the really appealing part, is the sustainability angle. By taking existing tech and giving it a second life, they stop it becoming waste too soon. That's huge. It reduces the need to manufacture brand new stuff, which saves resources, saves energy. It's good business, but it's also good for the planet. That's why this market is growing. Hashtag 2.2, Ressett's unique sourcing and grading system.
Okay, so if Ressett isn't making new machines, where do they get all this inventory? They need a steady supply of decent quality stuff, right? Can't just be random odds and ends.
No, definitely not. It's a very organized, strategic sourcing operation. This is where their expertise really shines. They tap into several key channels. One is directly from PC manufacturers. Sometimes manufacturers have surplus stock, maybe models that are about to be replaced. They'd rather sell these off in bulk to a reseller like Ressett than try to sell outdated models themselves.
Makes sense. What else?
Retailers are another big source. Think unsold stock they need to clear out to make room for new models. This could be brand new, still in the box stuff, or maybe demonstration units from the shop floor. Big chains have lots of demo models they need to cycle through.
Ah, right. X-display models.
Exactly. And a really important source, maybe less obvious, is large organizations. Banks, government departments, universities, big companies. They usually upgrade their computers on a regular schedule, maybe every 3-5 years. That means they have huge quantities of perfectly good machines they need to get rid of. Selling them to Ressett is a sustainable way to dispose of them, and they get some cash back for their IT budget.
So Ressett's buyers must have specific things they're looking for.
Oh, absolutely. They're not buying just anything. They want machines that are appealing and profitable. Not the very latest models. Usually those are too expensive and hard to get in bulk. But they can't be ancient either. They need to be able to run current software reasonably well. There's usually an overlap period where older operating systems are still supported, which helps. Cosmetic condition is also really important. People want something that looks decent, even if it's refurbished. It's a balancing act.
And they only buy in large quantities.
Yes, bulk purchases only. Ressett doesn't buy single computers from individuals. The sources say minimum 50 units, preferably more. It wouldn't be worth their time. Otherwise, the effort of checking, photographing, listing each one individually. This bulk model works well for the big organizations selling to them, and it also appeals to buyers like schools or charities who need multiple identical PCs but are on a tight budget.
That sourcing strategy sounds incredibly well thought out. So once Ressett gets all this varied stock in, how do they present it to customers? How do I, browsing their website, know what condition the machine is in? What am I actually getting?
That's where their grading system comes in, and it's absolutely vital. It's all about transparency and managing expectations. It also allows them to price things differently based on condition. They use 4 main grades. First, new. This is exactly what it sounds like. Still in the original box, unopened, usually surplus stock from manufacturers or retailers. Might have been sitting in a warehouse for a bit, but it's technically new.
Right.
Second, as new. These have been opened, maybe used very lightly, so might have tiny marks. Think X-demo units from shops, or maybe something someone bought online, opened, and returned straight away without damage. Ressett checks these very carefully.
Got it. Then the refurbished grades.
Right, grade A refurbished. These will have seen some use. They might have minor cosmetic marks, a small scratch here or there, maybe the keyboard looks slightly worn. Typically sourced from those corporate upgrades, fully functional, just not perfect looking.
And grade B.
Grade B refurbished. Similar source, but with more noticeable cosmetic issues. Medium marks, maybe more obvious wear on the keyboard or touchpad. Again, fully tested and working, but you're trading off appearance for a lower price.
That seems really clear. It lets you choose based on your budget and how much you care about minor scuffs.
Exactly. It tackles that uncertainty you often get when buying used stuff. You know what you're signing up for. It's a key part of their trustworthiness, really.
It's pretty clear that sourcing and grading all this diverse stock needs a really smooth operation behind the scenes. The sources mentioned Ressett has 350 staff, all working out of one big sales and fulfillment center. That sounds efficient, but complex. How do the different departments work together?
It has to be a really tightly integrated system, yeah. Each part relies on the others. Let's start with the buying department. We've touched on them, but they're absolutely crucial. They're the ones building relationships with suppliers, manufacturers, big retailers, IT managers at large companies. They negotiate the deals to buy not just PCs, but peripherals and consumables too, always in bulk. Their skill is judging if the equipment is current enough, desirable enough, and if they can get it at a price that allows Ressett to make a profit. They also manage inventory levels, trying to predict demand. Getting a good deal on 1,000 laptops from a bank upgrade, for example, flows right through the business. And buying consumables like USB sticks or ink, that's strategic too. Drives extra sales, maybe impulse buys, and keeps customers coming back for things like printer supplies.
Okay, so buying gets the stock in, then it's over to the sales department to actually sell it. They must need a lot of technical knowledge.
They definitely do. The sales department runs the website, which is Ressett's main shop window. They're responsible for listing all the items, taking good photos, writing accurate, detailed descriptions, setting the prices, and crucially, applying those grades. New as new, grade A, grade B, making the options clear. Customers can order online, but they also have a call center. The staff there need to be pretty tech-savvy. They advise customers on what to buy, explain technical stuff, handle bulk orders for businesses, and deal with any queries or problems after the sale delivery delays, faulty items, needing help setting things up. Accuracy and good communication are key to keeping customers happy.
And sitting between buying and sales, presumably, is the inventory department. This sounds like where the hands-on work happens, especially the refurbishment.
Absolutely. The inventory department is like the engine room. They take the incoming goods and get them ready to be listed and sold. Quality control is huge here. For new items, they check the packaging is sealed and undamaged. If it is damaged, they have to open it, test the product, and if it's okay, they reclassify it as new. That's a careful judgment call. For as new stuff, they power it up, make sure it matches the description, check for any wear or damage beyond what's expected for that grade.
And the refurbishment of used machines. That sounds critical.
It's probably the most important part for building trust. When they get used PCs, the first non-negotiable step is securely wiping all the data from the previous owner. All files, all software except the operating system. This is vital for security, obviously, but also for software licensing. Ressett can't legally pass on software license to the previous owner. They take responsibility for removing it. The OS is usually okay to leave, as it's often tied to the machine itself. After wiping, they do the physical work, cleaning, polishing, checking for damage, assessing wear and tear. Then they assign the final grade, A or B refurbished. This department also feeds back to buying. If a batch of as-new laptops keeps arriving with screen issues, they tell buying, who can then try to renegotiate the price or even reject future batches from that supplier. And finally, they manage the warehouse, logging everything, making sure the website shows accurate stock levels, packing orders, getting them ready for the couriers. It's a massive logistical operation.
Wow, yeah. A lot going on there. And then keeping the whole company running smoothly. Finance, HR, marketing that falls to the administration department.
That's right. Admin handles all those essential background functions. Things like checking the creditworthiness of business customers who want to buy in bulk and pay later. Individuals have to pay up front. All the bookkeeping and accounting, very important, especially as they need to follow specific financial reporting standards, IFRS and Lamland apparently. Managing the 350 staff recruitment, payroll, training, and of course, marketing and advertising, getting the Ressett name out there. So yeah, it's a complex machine, but clearly a well-oiled one with each part playing its role. It really shows how they can manage this niche effectively. But how does all this efficiency actually look on paper financially? And how do they compare to their main rival?
Right, let's get into the numbers. Ressett's annual report gives us a really clear snapshot for the financial years ending in March 2024 and 2025.
Yep.
This is where we see if that smooth operation translates into, well, profit.
It certainly does. Looking at their main profit statement, the trajectory is definitely positive. Their revenue, so total sales, went up from $197.2 million in 2024 to $203.3 million in 2025. That's about a 3% increase, showing steady demand. Cost of sales, what they paid for the goods they sold, also went up a bit, $144.0 million to $146.4 million. That makes sense if they're selling more. But the important figure, gross profit, the difference between revenue and cost of sales grew nicely from $53.2 million to $56.9 million. That tells us they're maintaining healthy profit margins on their products.
And what about the running costs? Admin expenses.
This is interesting. Administrative expenses actually went down slightly from $29.6 million to $28.5 million. That's a really good sign. It suggests they're becoming more efficient, controlling their overheads well, and that decrease in admin costs combined with the higher gross profit leads to a big jump in operating profit. That went from $23.6 million up to $28.4 million. That's a strong indicator of how well the core business is performing. And the bottom line, profit for the year, after taxes and everything, also saw strong growth from $19.9 million to $23.8 million. So definitely a profitable and growing company.
Very solid figures.
Yeah.
What about their overall financial position? Assets, debts? What does the balance sheet show?
The balance sheet reinforces that picture of stability and growth. Total assets grew slightly, from $49.6 million to $51.0 million. If you look at their current assets, the short-term stuff, they had $15.2 million tied up in inventory in 2025, which is expected for a reseller. They held a good amount of stock. Receivables, money owed to them by customers, was $16.1 million. That's likely from corporate clients buying on credit. And importantly, they had $7.8 million in the bank, cash on hand. That shows good liquidity, meaning they can easily pay their short-term bills. On the other side, their long-term loans were stable at $8.0 million. They don't seem to be taking on excessive debt. So overall, Ressett looks financially healthy, well-managed, and growing steadily.
Okay, so Ressett's doing well financially, but they're not the only ones playing this game. The sources say there are really only two major PC resellers in Lamland Ressett and a competitor called Fixxupp. Apparently, the market can't really support more, and Fixxupp has a very similar business model. So how does Ressett stack up against them?
It's a really useful comparison, and the numbers tell a pretty clear story. Let's put their 2025 figures side by side. Revenue. Ressett, as we said, $203.3 million. Fixxupp, $187.0 million. So Ressett is clearly selling more, has a bigger slice of the market.
Okay, higher sales. What about profitability?
Gross profit. Ressett hit $56.9 million. Fixxupp managed $48.6 million. Again, Ressett is ahead. This is significant. It suggests Ressett is either better at buying stock cheaply or better at pricing it effectively, or maybe both. Their margins are better. But the difference gets even starker when you look at operating profit. Ressett achieved $28.4 million. Fixxupp, $20.5 million. That means Ressett's operating profit is nearly 40% higher than Fixxup's. Given their similar models, this strongly points towards Ressett being much more operationally efficient. That tight control over admin costs we saw, the smooth inventory process, it seems to be paying off significantly compared to their main rival.
Wow, that's a big gap. And the final profit.
Profit for the year. Ressett $23.8 million, Fixxupp $16.9 million. So Ressett keeps more of its revenue as actual profit at the end of the day. In terms of size, total assets are fairly close, but Ressett is slightly larger, $51 million versus Fixxup's $49.0 million. So yeah, the analysis really paints Ressett as the leader here. Higher sales, much better profitability. It suggests their specific way of doing things. The sourcing, the grading, the operational setup gives them a real competitive advantage over Fixxupp, even if they look similar on the surface. Hashtag 3.3 Ressett's governance structure.
Impressive performance. Beyond the financials, let's just quickly touch on who's steering the ship. What do we know about Ressett's leadership and governance?
The sources give us a little insight into their board structure. They specifically mention having several non-executive directors. Hamza Salem Faraj Atia is the non-executive chair. And then Geraldine Grouchet, Frank Siderson, and Marietta Auer are also listed as non-execs. Having non-executive directors, especially a non-executive chair, is generally seen as good practice in corporate governance. These are people who aren't involved in the day-to-day running of the company. Their job is to provide independent oversight, offer different perspectives, maybe challenge the management team a bit, and ensure the company is being run properly and ethically for the benefit of everyone involved. It signals a level of accountability and stability.
Right, adds another layer of confidence. So, strong financials, good governance. It points to a company that knows what it's doing. But Ressett also seems keen to highlight something more, this commitment to sustainability, tackling that e-waste problem we talked about earlier.
Yeah, let's circle back to that. We mentioned the constant cycle of new tech, but this raises an important question. What's the real-world consequence of all that upgrading? Just how big is this e-waste problem? It's genuinely massive and frankly quite frightening when you look at the figures. Electronic waste, or e-waste, is basically any discarded electronic device. Phones, laptops, TVs, fridges, everything with a plug or battery. And the scale is staggering. The news report we looked at says over 60 million tons are dumped globally every single year. That's an almost unbelievable amount. And it's predicted to hit over 80 million tons a year by 2030.
Wow, why so much?
It's driven by that constant development of new gadgets, often with only small improvements, and our desire as consumers to have the latest thing. So perfectly good devices get tossed aside way too early. And the real danger is what's inside this e-waste. Toxic stuff, lead, mercury, cadmium, loads of other harmful chemicals. When this stuff ends up in landfill or gets improperly handled, those toxins leach into the ground, into rivers. They get into the environment and ultimately into our food chain. It's a direct threat to human health and ecosystems.
Can it be recycled safely?
It can be, yes. There are valuable materials in there, gold, silver, copper, that can be recovered. But proper safe recycling is complex, expensive, and often hazardous for the workers involved. The sad reality, according to the report, is that globally, about 5 times more e-waste is just dumped or improperly handled than is actually safely processed and recycled. So yeah, it's a huge, complex crisis with serious environmental and health implications. It really highlights why we need more sustainable approaches. Hashtag 4.2 Ressett sustainable business model and initiatives.
That's a sobering picture. So facing that kind of global challenge, how does Ressett position itself? How do they actively contribute to being part of the solution rather than just another company selling electronics?
Well, their sustainability report makes it clear this is central to their identity. It starts with their core business model, which is inherently sustainable. Think about it. They buy up surplus and use tech that might otherwise just be scrapped, ending up as e-waste far too soon. By refurbishing and reselling it, they achieve several things. They prevent waste, they extend the useful life of equipment, sometimes by several years, and every refurbished item they sell potentially avoids the need to manufacture a brand new one, which saves a ton of resources and energy. It's a direct contribution to a more circular economy, tackling that e-waste problem head on.
So the model itself is sustainable. Do they do other things too?
Yes, they seem to embed it organizationally. The report mentions their board discusses sustainability specifically at least twice a year. It's on the main agenda. And they have a dedicated sustainability champion, a senior manager from inventory who spends a couple of days every month focused purely on driving sustainability initiatives. That shows commitment beyond just the business model.
What about their own operations, their warehouse deliveries?
They focus on operational efficiency, too. Running everything from one big, efficient distribution center helps minimize their footprint compared to, say, having lots of retail stores. Selling online and via phone reduces customer travel. They manage their logistics carefully and have set a really ambitious target, net zero carbon by 2030. And they're tracking progress. They measured the CO2 equivalent emissions from their distribution center and reported a 5% reduction last year, mainly through things like energy-efficient lighting and better heating control. They also push their suppliers, they require their courier partners to show they're energy efficient, and now 80% of their deliveries use electric vehicles for at least part of the journey. So yeah, it's not just talk. They seem to be actively measuring, managing, and improving their environmental impact. It feels like a core part of how they operate. Hashtag 4.3 consumer trust and data security in the used market.
That's really impressive, tying sustainability so closely to their operations. But let's switch back to the consumer perspective. Buying used tech, especially online. That big worry is always data security, isn't it? Are you accidentally buying someone else's sensitive information? How does Ressett handle that fundamental trust issue?
It's probably the biggest barrier for people considering refurbished tech, and Ressett seems acutely aware of it. The news report we saw had that really stark story about Lydia Cañarita. She donated an old laptop thinking she was doing good. The charity sold it on. The buyer managed to recover files she thought she deleted, got her online banking details, stole her identity. Awful stuff.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
It really is, and it highlights that crucial point. Just hitting delete or emptying the recycle bin does almost nothing. The data is usually still there, recoverable with the right software. Professor Cahill in the report basically says, don't ever give away old computers unless you are 100% sure the data is permanently gone.
So how does Ressett guarantee that? What's their process?
This is where their professional approach really matters, and it's spelled out in their FAQs. As we discussed in the inventory section, every single PC they process, whether it was originally new, as new, or used, undergoes rigorous data wiping. Their technicians use specialized methods to securely delete all previous user data and any software that isn't the basic operating system. They state clearly that this is essential not just for privacy, but also to comply with software licensing laws. They can't resell software licensed to someone else. The operating system itself is generally left intact because the license usually stays with the machine. But everything else, gone, permanently. This professional, guaranteed data destruction is a massive confidence booster for customers. It's one of the biggest advantages they offer over buying from an unknown individual on a marketplace. You get peace of mind.
That's a huge differentiator. So beyond data security, how else does buying from Ressett compare to, say, buying used from an online marketplace? What about support if something goes wrong?
Again, it's a very different experience. Online marketplaces, sure, they have search tools, photos, maybe seller ratings, but ultimately you're dealing with an individual. You're relying on them to be honest, to pack it well. If the machine arrives DOA or has issues later, getting help can be difficult or impossible. And forget about professional data wiping.
Whereas Ressett offers more structure.
Much more. Their call center is staffed by specialists, available 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. They can help you choose the right machine, answer technical questions, and importantly, provide after-sales support. They offer technical support for 3 months after you buy with unlimited calls. So if you have trouble setting it up or something isn't working right, you have experts you can actually talk to. That's invaluable. They also point out that because you save money on the hardware, you've got budget left for any specific software you need to buy legally. They advise on peripherals too, like whether you need an internal or external DVD drive for a laptop, and they sell the necessary cables and tools if you want a wired network connection, explaining why that's often better than Wi-Fi. It's a whole support package designed to make buying and using refurbished tech easy and risk-free. It really contrasts with the potential pitfalls of buying from a private seller.
Looking at Reset this way, the business model, the financials, the sustainability focus, the customer care, it really builds a complete picture, doesn't it? But it also makes you think about your own choices as a consumer in this tech landscape. Hashtag outro. Okay, let's tie this all together. We've taken a deep dive into Reset. So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Maybe think about your next tech purchase. We've seen how Reset has carved out this successful space in the refurbished market. It's not luck. It's down to a really smart, efficient operation, solid financial performance showing growth and good management, and this genuine, embedded commitment to sustainability. They really highlight the value a professional reseller brings, especially that guaranteed data security, wiping previous owner data properly, and offering real customer support. That's a world away from just buying used off some random online listing. And fundamentally, Reset makes money by extending the life of technology. By doing that, they directly help reduce that mountain of e-waste we talked about. It shows that good business and environmental responsibility can absolutely go hand in hand.
Yeah, and that's really the final thought I want to leave you with. We live in this time of incredibly fast tech changes, but also growing awareness about our impact on the planet. Companies like Reset, they're not just offering a cheaper option, they feel like a glimpse into a smarter, more responsible way forward for how we consume technology. So next time your phone feels slow or your laptop is struggling, maybe pause for a moment. Think about the whole life cycle of these devices we rely on so much. Is the automatic reaction always to go for brand new with all the resources that takes to make? Or could you actively consider a professionally refurbished machine, one that's been checked, cleaned, data wiped, comes with support, costs less, and is genuinely better for the environment? Maybe think beyond just the initial price tag. Consider the bigger picture, the planetary impact, your own data security. Perhaps the real cutting edge, the true innovation, isn't always about having the absolute latest thing. Maybe it's about finding clever, reliable ways to make the old new again, keeping perfectly good technology working longer, and doing right by both our wallets and our world.